the person who originated the transfer.
Yes.
That part, yeah, and I don't know, there is the case management real time.
Yes.
This covers also the analysis, the behavioral analysis, account activity, rule hits, rule definition, that part.
Yeah, so definitely this can be in scope. The product fully covers the customer behavior monitoring, profiling, etc. So that's also in there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So well, basically, customers and customers of customers, they are onboarded, they are screened in the same way. So what we just need, of course, is the data or potential links between them. Other than that, there is no real difference, in fact, in the monitoring of customers or the customers of your customers. What else? Well, we can also propose, and that's quite appreciated by customers, data quality control. So as we implement, for example, rules, so in iDetect, everything is based on rules, I mean. So there are specific rules for the KYC, so for the risk evaluation of the customer, for name matching, for example, etc. There are other rules which are applied for customer risk evaluation, other ones for customer profiling, behavior, transaction monitoring, etc. And we also propose rules for data quality, so to basically find whether some data is missing or expired, etc. So that's also typically something which is interesting for our customers, and we can also manage that. The difference, well, the differentiator, one of the big differentiators of iDetect compared to other products is that iDetect is capable of doing everything in real time. When I say everything, I mean including the customer profiling in real time. So what all other products on the market can do is they do the profiling, they update the profile in batch, so overnight, and then they will generate the alerts either in batch, either in real time. We can do both. We can do the update of the customer profile in real time, so as transactions come, and also generate immediately an alert in real time. So that's quite unique, again, on the market. So what we propose also, we can, once we understand your exact business and needs, etc. So what we do at the beginning of the project is we do a couple of sessions to analyze your business, your company, your exact requirements, etc. So based on that, we can propose already pre-configured, ready-to-use product, which stays fully customizable by you or by us, whatever. But you basically, people within your organization, they get trainings to be able to customize the product. Typically, what comes pre-configured is the minimum regulatory requirements coverage. So we ensure that you are covered from at least from a regulatory perspective. And then whatever is an additional business needs, either we configure immediately during the project, either basically we leave it for a second phase, etc. That's something that is discussed on a case by case basis. iDetect is extremely scalable, so the technologies that we have used for the development of the product make it extremely scalable to very large data volumes, so including big data, and performance is optimal. It's quite extreme on big volumes. Implementation time is quite quick. We have different implementation options. It can be on your premises or on your already existing provider. I believe you have already existing provider for infrastructure and application management, if I'm not wrong, or it can also be hosted by us, so you get it like a service. Any questions so far?
fine. Yeah.
Same here.
Just to note that we have our own location, and I think that we discussed this. It's Canada-based, and
that's fine. Basically, the physical location is not a big issue.
Yeah. But yeah, it's hosted and managed by.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine. All right. So then I will go a bit more into the product functionality on slides, just to introduce the concepts. Of course, ask me questions whenever you want, and then we go into the product. If it's too much details, just let me know, so I skip some of the details. So basically, as you can expect, so iDetect, so we need data. We need to connect with external systems. We need to gather data in order to function, and in order to be able to detect sanctions, pet people, abnormal behavior, meaning money laundering, etc. So iDetect is connected, or needs to be connected, to different systems and content providers. So typically to your systems in real time and or batch. So again, something to be analyzed, discussed. iDetect can work with structured data and unstructured data. So when we talk about structured data, basically this is mostly about your customer information, transaction, etc. So these kind of data are typically structured. Structured are also lists, sanctions lists, PEP lists, etc. Local, original, your internal, eventually blacklists or gray lists or whatever you have. So these are all in structured data. And we also work with unstructured data. So basically we can crawl the web for adverse media related to your customers. We can also connect to social media like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. to monitor some news or relations or links of your customers or your customers. And iDetect is also quite flexible on the data interfacing, so it can be also interfaced, or it can also ingest, if you want, additional data that you might want to add. That's quite easy, so we don't have to develop. We can load data, configure and load data via graphical interface. So if you have any other lists or data sources that you have to use, we can do it. We can configure and use this kind of data. I was talking about negative news, adverse. Yes, question?
Sorry, could you get back the slide?
Sure.
Yeah, external vendors lists, World Check, Dow Jones, so this means that you already have the data from this service vendors, or this is something that we need already to have access to it, and you will just put it into the system.
Yeah.
How this works?
So we have the standard connectors, so we can connect to all these sources, but you have to pay for the data separately, through us. I mean, but what we can provide, I will show you a bit later. So for sanction and PEP screening, so we can provide certain sources which are for free. Which make most of the regulators happy. If a regulator is not happy, or if your compliance or audit or risk are not happy, then you might need to go for a commercial content provider, like people, World Check, Dow Jones, Lexis. We have an advanced partnership with an UK-based company called C6 Intelligence, and then with them we can give you good pricing. That's okay. Of course.
I understand.
Yeah. Basically, we are the technology provider. We are not the content provider.
Yeah, I got it.
What we can do, like technology provider, is we can automatically, if you want, collect for you and use free of charge data, like sanctions lists, for example, public, like certain more restricted PEP lists. So, there is a PEP list on the CIA website called CIA World Leaders. So this one download automatically, and that's for free. So that's something that we can propose.
Great.
If you need more, then there will be some additional cost, of course, for the content. On the public information that we can also go crawling and gather. So basically, we are talking about the web. So the World Wide Web, we can either use Google API to crawl all the web if you want. Either we can also have our own crawlers, which basically will crawl specific websites that we define together with you, which are regionally important for you. So it could be news agencies, it could be some law enforcement websites in specific jurisdictions where you work, etc. And same for our RSS feeds, which we also collect in real time. On the analysis, if you want, of the data, what we propose basically, because on one hand you have your customers, the information about your customers, transactions, etc. On the other hand, you have all the data which you need basically to analyze and to relate somehow to your customers, to evaluate the risk of your customers. So we propose a new generation identity matching engine. So I will go through it quickly to explain what it is, why it is a new generation, and why it gives better results. So basically, it's multi-algorithm, multilingual, multi-alphabet, etc. It's multi a lot of things. And I was talking also, as I said, that we also propose to include in this monitoring negative news, so unstructured data, etc. On top of this functionality, of course, we have the alert and case management, which allow you to investigate whatever has been found by the system. It is quite advanced. You will see it's completely visual investigative link analysis. It's a bit of different way to work compared to standard legacy solutions. And in our latest version, which is going to the market right now, we have implemented our last couple of years of research in machine learning, and we have, well, to be honest, to me, tremendous results in false positives reduction. You will see what it means, tremendous. Some details, so I will not spend a lot of time on that about the engine itself. So it covers all these different things here. All the variation, abbreviations, of course, transliteration, all these things. These are technicalities. If you have advanced interest into this, we can discuss more in details. Unlike all the other systems on the market, we use different algorithms for the different name populations. So all the other systems on the market, they typically use only one algorithm called Levenstein. To do the identity matching, so we use different, well, 8 to 10 different algorithms, which give different results in function of the name population to which they are applied. So here you see some results. In each case, there is, well, in most of the cases, there is a different algorithm which gives the best result, and we will use specifically for each specific population different algorithm in order to be in order to ensure that we get the best quality results and that false positives are minimized. Well, some comparisons, so we can see that difference is quite big. If you look at Levenstein, so used by everybody else, and our multi-algorithm engine gives quite a better results. We also use machine learning, which is trained and untrained. So basically, we train the machine learning models in our premises. We can also train them with your own data before they are activated and implemented on, activated on your side. Machine learning does much more things than one specific algorithm can do. It compares more than 50 different features for each name, so name, etc. It does it in real time, and it learns from data. What the result is? The result is that it achieved, or what we achieved in our implementation of machine learning. Machine learning is a broad term, but it needs to be implemented in a specific way. So that's what we were working on in the last couple of years, to implement specific machine learning models specific to identity matching. So what we have achieved here, proven by results with real life data from customers. If you look at the on the left side, so the blue bar, it says number of true positives. So if we keep the same number of true positives, so in average, the industry, and also in average without machine learning, what you get for one true positive alert, usually you get 7 false positives. That's industry standard. There are no miracles. It's not very nice. It's ugly, but that's how it is. So what we have achieved here with our machine learning is that for 100 true positives, we only get about 15 false positives. So that's really tremendous achievement. It's a reduction of false positive by a factor of up to 46. This means basically that you can focus virtually only on true alerts and not spend your time investigating alerts which are not true. Custom risk evaluation. Part of the product functionality is the evaluation of the customer risk. So it's not only about lists. I mean, it's not only about adverse media. So the engine, of course, goes much deeper than that. I do not want to spend a lot of time here, but basically what you see here in the different boxes with different colors are the main criteria which are required by regulators around the globe in order to evaluate and conclude on the customer risk. So the 4 categories are, well, the first one is around customer identity and customer relations. The second one is about the customer behavior, expected behavior for new customers or real behavior for existing ones. Then the products and the channels that, well, basically through which you acquire the customer. So our risk evaluation matrix can take into account different criteria grouped in these 4 different categories. We can weight, of course, you can have your own model to evaluate the risk, and then we conclude, so the outcome of this is the risk category of the customer. So here you can see 3 categories, but there is no limitation of the number of categories. It's fully configurable. You can have 3 or 300 or whatever, but the industry usually works with 3 to 4 risk categories. Again, a few words on the different functionalities. So I was talking quite a lot about customers until now. So customer risk evaluation, KYC, ongoing due diligence once the customer is onboarded. So of course, iDetect also does the transaction filtering. I put on the brackets here sanctions because it's not only sanctions. So that's what typically a regulator obliges you to do at minimum. So to scan transactions for sanctions, of course, sanctioned customers, sanctioned countries, etc. But there is no limitation within iDetect what you can scan within a transaction. It can scan all the relevant information for sanctions, for sanctioned countries, sanctioned people, or PEP people. It could be your blacklist. Also, it could be anything which is relevant. We can block transactions in real time. So if certain of the criteria, the rules are met, and generation and alert is generated, let's say for a sanctioned person or company or country or whatever, so the transaction will be stopped in real time, and somebody will need to have a look in order to decide whether this transaction needs to go through or really to stop it and to block eventually the funds. I'm not sure whether you are connected to Swift. I don't think. Remember whether we talked about that. but we fully cover well SWIFT payment messages screening. So we have standard adapters to SWIFT, etc. So same approach. We can scan and block SWIFT messages in real time. On the anti-money laundering side, so iDetect does the customer profiling, behavioral profiling, and transaction monitoring. It is fully capable of doing it in real time. So we are the only ones, as I said, to be able to update customer profile in real time, and also to generate alerts, well, anti-money laundering alerts, or not sanctions alert, but anti-money laundering alert in real time. Engine is quite flexible, so it's all based, as I said, on configuration. Configuration, you will see it perhaps briefly also in the solution itself, is done in a PNL, so what is called pseudo-natural language. So there is no need to code in Java or SQL or whatever. So it's quite intuitive, in fact, to change a rule or to create a new one, etc. So we also have advanced analytics there, which come on top of the pure rules. Well, we have some machine learning, which is also being implemented for the customer profiling and transaction monitoring. We have predictive analysis. We have peer grouping of customers, etc. So all these are different techniques, basically, again, to improve the detection and to lower the number of false positives. Another difference of iDetect is that other solutions on the market, they are either customer or customer account and account centric. So they focus basically the detection, they focus the profiling and the behavioral analysis on the customer and or account. iDetect is not customer account centric, it's any data object centric. So for us, for iDetect, any data is taken like a different object. So it could be customer, it could be address, it could be a phone number we can profile. If you want even a phone number or an ATM or whatever is available, we can profile it. Any questions so far?
It's all good from my side. I'm listening. Okay. I'm listening carefully.
Okay. Too much info, not enough info, or is it clear?
I went through so many of similar information in while working with our AML and compliance team, so I'm pretty much familiar with all of these things.
All right. Okay, then let's continue then. So what we can do, what iDetect can do, but that's a short summary. The list is probably longer, and other systems cannot do, is the AML profiling and alerting in real time. We can also profile SWIFT transactions, and again in real time. So we can build a customer profile based on SWIFT transactions. So that's also quite unique. The real-time investigative dynamic link analysis that you will see is also quite unique. There are just a couple of other companies on the market, to my knowledge, which are not necessarily in the compliance area. They are more in the data analytics BI, which propose this on a tremendously high prices. We have a full open source intelligence capability, so we are fully capable to gather information by iDetect automatically and to analyze unstructured data. We do, as I said, a real usage of machine learning, artificial intelligence. Not all of the other solutions, they do it, they claim to do it, but behind the hood, there is nothing, or virtually nothing. I mean, high performance is guaranteed. We can back it up by real use cases on complex structures, on unstructured data, on very high volumes, if you have one. And then it's a fully integrated solution, not only compliance, but anti-fraud. I'm not sure whether it is in your immediate interest right now, but you can think about scaling up one day to different coverage, different needs, and different risks. And it's there is no limitation, I mean, to the to jurisdictions or to different regulations, because everything is configurable. In fact, if there are new rules, if changing regulations, if you expand to a new jurisdiction, new territory, basically, you need to cover some different specific local regulatory requirements. This is done via configurations on nothing to install, basically. We have some additional features. I will not really talk about them. So it's about payments fraud, it's FATCA, CRS, multi-channel fraud that I was talking about. So we can cover virtually any kind of fraud here. Then alert and case management. I would suggest that we see it in the solution. That's the best option from my perspective, including the link analysis, geolocation, so some reporting, configuration. On top of this, of course, from risk management, I mean, an audit perspective, we propose all the audit trails and reporting, which are typically and usually required. So everything is recorded within iDetect. So all the actions taken by users or initiated by the system, it's all put in an audit trail, which cannot be changed, I mean, deleted, etc. Including so any changes in configuration, in the rules, for example, that's all recorded. The previous state, if you want, of the rule, and the new ones are recorded, and who did it when, etc. So all this is for audit purposes, internal or external audit. Certain customers. So we work with different financial institutions, in fact, with banks, MTOs, NSBs, with some fintechs, payment solutions providers, and also different sizes. We work with small structures and with quite some big structures, some big Chinese banks, you know, they are not so small, and some payment providers, etc. So we are used to different kind of financial institutions, and also different volumes. I mean, we can do very big, extremely big, and we can do small. I put here again the value proposition that I would like to propose to you today. Again, according to my understanding of your current needs. So KYC name matching, AML profiling, etc. Included, pre-configured to your needs, full regulatory coverage. We can do everything in real time, so you do not have to if you do not want to, or if you are not obliged. But we are the only ones who can really do everything in real time. Should this be your requirement? Also, dramatic false positives reduction. You saw thanks to machine learning, case management, which is of new generation, easy scalability, vertical and horizontal, so to new functional business domain coverage, as well as if you want to go deeper into certain verticals like anti-money laundering, sanctions screening, etc. So both are possible. Implementation times can be quite fast. I'm not sure whether we have some regulatory pressure right now, or some internal business pressure, but if you have one, so we can advise you on the best option in order to meet deadlines. And we can go quite fast if that's necessary. And you, of course, have our commitment to a successful project and quality post-production support. We know project is very important, so we tend to be quite strict and usually good on project delivery, but we also know that the post-production support is critical. So that's one of our focuses here. So that was from me on slides. Any questions before we move to the product?
I will. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay. Yeah, good. Thanks. I will only ask about the example and comparison that you provide about the machine learning and reducing up to 46 times.
Yes.
So, on which data set example did you test that? So it was like from your real customer, or that was like your the dummy data that you use it for testing?
So we did both. The results that you see here, so the times 46, was achieved with the real data from a few different customers. We have taken data basically from some large customers in different regions. We have put it together, and these are the results that we've got. So that's after the models have been trained. So we did initially the development with some internally created data. Then we have, I assume you're a bit aware of machine learning, how it works. So we have labeled some data in order to train the models, well, internal data. Then we did the same with real life data. So we have taken from three large customers, from one from Europe, one from Middle East, and one from North Africa, basically to train the model again with label data. And the last test we did with, of course, with real life data without any labeled records, etc. So the time 6 was achieved with real life data from three different customers put together.
Yeah, and those customers like all in a bank industry, right? Banks or financial services.
Specifically, well, in fact, we for this testing we did it for with MTO's data. In fact.
Sorry, you said that. I think I didn't hear it.
So the data we got from MTO, so from money transfer.
Okay. Money. MTOs. Money transfer.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that.
So of course we can train the models with your own data. So if you have large volumes of data, then we can use it. We can label the data. If necessary, because we have different ways to train the models. Sometimes we can do unsupervised training, and sometimes we need to do with labeled data. So we can also do this specifically to you. That's not a big issue.
Yeah, I got it.
All right. Other questions? Something that I did not cover, or where I was not clear enough or not far enough in the details in the explanation, or something that you were expecting to hear but you didn't hear so far?
I'm good.
So far, so good?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I have the new version and the legacy version of iDetect, so I want to show you, of course, the new one, because if you are lucky enough, well, from our side at least, to work with you, of course, we will work on the new version. However, in my demo on the older version, I have more use cases, so if you need to go there, I might need to switch to the previous one. But in fact, the logic behind is quite the same. So it's a fully web-based solution, as you can see here on the screen. So it's a web browser. It works on different web browsers. So if you need more information, I can send, of course, technical compatibility, documentation, etc. There are a few main screens. So what you see here basically is the screen with the list of alerts that have been generated. So when an investigator, a compliance guy, logs to the application, so he or she can see here the list of the alerts that he or she can see. So it could be only his alerts or the alerts of the team, etc., or all the alerts if we are talking about the manager, etc. It's a matter of configuration. So again, it's something which is fully configurable. On the left side, you have different menus here, so you can see these are my alerts, so the alerts that I have to work on today that have been generated either in real time right now, either on batch or both. I can also see alerts for today, yesterday, earlier this week, etc. So that's in the timeline. Same story for the cases. So if I go into one alert, so here I will take just a simple, if you want, person KYC alert. So it's a check, let's say on a new customer when you're onboarding new customers. So the checks are done in real time. And here in this case, I've got an alert for a potential customer or customer of your customer. In this case, it will be Ahmed Abdul Salam. What I see here immediately on the list already is I see the type of the alert. So person on a watch list. So this gives me an indication of the type of the alert. Because as I said, iDetect is fully integrated, so you can see different alerts in the same interface. So you see here person on the watch list. It could be for high amount transaction. It could be for high risk country. It could be for something from the customer behavior. It could be even fraud if we cover this. It could be all different things. You have a different color here on the alert on the left side. So color basically means risk or criticity of the alert. So higher the risk of the alert is, more it will become a red. So you see here that I have a high priority alert. You can read it here on the right side. You see the percentage of the alert, so the score, which is 90%. And on the left side, the color is red because this is a high priority, high risk alert, meaning that it needs to be well, typically investigated quite quickly. These colors are again configurable, so that's to you to configure. I can already work on the workflow directly from here. So you can see I have a workflow. So here I have one action because this is a new alert. It's not assigned yet. I can assign to investigate from here directly to me or to somebody else. I have the same option here on top. So this is more for convenience. I mean, these different options for economy. So if I want to see a bit more, so I double click, I go into the alert itself. So I see again the description, so the name of the alert. It gives me an indication about what it is about. Priority, risk score, the latest workflow status, creation date, etc. All these things. Description of the alert, customer on a watch list, detailed information. So this is again detailed information that we can put, or even you can put here. You can configure here like an instruction, for example, to your compliance officers. So basically, this tells them more into details because you have first the workflow, which guides them through the work process, but you can also give more details. So here, for example, it says, I'm not sure whether you can read it, if it's big enough or not, but it says, check the alert if there is a match that cannot be excluded, refer to the chief compliance officer. If the alert can be excluded, record the reason and close the alert. So basically, this is about instructions. Then on the left side, you have your customer or your customer's customer. So what you see here on the left half of the screen. On the right half here, you have the person which has been identified on the list. It could be one or more. So here I have only one. But if there is more than one, basically you can scroll here. You will have the number of entities which have been identified against your customer. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for example, etc. With their attributes, so names, surnames, whatever is available on one side in your system, and on the other side in the list. You can give comments. So I have comments under the customer. So these comments here will stay linked to the customer, no matter what the match on the other side is. So they will be always visible and linked to the customer itself. The comments which are here on the right side under the match, they will be linked only to the specific match of customer against a list of sanctions, blacklist, PEP, etc. So this will be comments which are really related to the match itself between these two entities. So once I have a bit investigated, I can quickly decide here. You can see a check or a cross. So the check sign here means that this is a true alert. So I went through here, I analyzed quickly, either here, either we will see a bit more advanced analysis later on in the visual link analysis. I have decided this is that this is really a sanctioned or a person on the list. The alert is true, and then I confirm the alert is true, and then eventually I block transaction or I block the person, etc. So that's as simple as that. You have more details here. If I click on the tab here, you can have more details about the alert itself. You have the history on the workflow. So here basically you will have all the actions that have been taken by the investigators. Related entities. So you can see here whatever persons or other entities are related to your customer. And comments. So if any comments are recorded, they will be here, and you can also write new comment related to the alert also directly from here. So as I said, I can do more advanced analysis if after having a look at the alert here, I'm not sure whether this is a true alert, or I'm not sure whether there is not some network behind, so some schema behind which involves other persons or other entities. So then typically as an investigator, I would like to analyze. So then what you have to do is to click on analysis. You select the alert to click on analysis, and it sends you directly to the visual link analysis. Then you have different options. So this is my alert. So the starting point here is my alert. So you see the description of alert. If I click here, and here you see all the different attributes, all the descriptions here, everything which is related to the alert, like information, for example, is visible here, including related entities, if any. Then, in order to start the investigation, I right-click. I have different options. So I start relating, for example, entities or different data entities to this alert. So these links are uncovered, if you want. They are done automatically by the system based on different criteria. So you don't have to define anything or to tell it what you search for. So basically it will relate either all. Relate all means that the system will look for any kind of link between your entry point here and anything else which is available to the system, into the database. So it will just look for any possible link and it will relate it. Relate entities means that it will be relating just entity. Entity means basically person, company, etc. Flows is about transactions, and documents. So we can also relate documents. We can store in the same database, in the iDetect database, not only data. Not only person, account, transaction, whatever data, but also documents. In any kind of format. It could be Word, it could be PDF, it could be mails, etc. Any kind of documents. And the system can also relate documents to other entities. System is capable to basically read the content of a document and to link it to another entities. So here I see that my alert is linked on one side to a customer of mine. So here you see the flag. So this is my customer here. If I click, you see the different information about the customer here on the right side. So name, surname, identification data. You see also the different risks which have been calculated by the system. So that's the country risk. So we have country risk about the nationality, related to nationality of the customer, related to the residence, for example, related to the issuing country of the ID document. Another risk where we are talking about face-to-face or non-face-to-face transaction, ID expired, etc. So here basically we define all the risks which are relevant to your business, and then the system will automatically calculate different risks the customer, and then based on that and the weighting in the risk evaluation matrix, it concludes on the overall risk of the customer. Here we're at 95, which is quite high. Is it okay? So do you follow me?
Yeah, I follow you very careful.
Okay. Am I too quick?
No, you're fine, but just don't find out when your person watch list right click and you relate it. What do you choose? Relate it all?
So
in the middle.
Yeah, it depends what you're looking for. So if you want to be able, or if you want to be sure that you do not miss anything, you do relate all. So the system then will relate everything that it finds related to your entry point. So your entry point here is a person. Mm-hmm. If I do this, you relate everything. So here you see it doesn't relate only persons. So here it related it to a very well-known friend of ours, Muammar Gaddafi, but not persons, but also to an address. So that's an address. In Libya, another address, it could be ID document, for example. If the system finds an ID document, it could be anything else, not only person.
So what is the response time for large volume? If there are like 10,000 records, will system show all them? And what will be the response time for that?
So it will be, well, it depends on the hardware, of course, behind, but it will not be much slower than what you see here. So the technology behind, in fact, makes this whole thing very performant. Of course, you can run, I don't know, 1 billion records on a small laptop. So yeah, just forget about that.
It's minutes or seconds response?
No, it's second or sub-second. So we are not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
It goes, what you see here is basically I have a world check, which is loaded not fully but partially here. So we are talking hundreds of thousands of records here. Customer database here in this demo is small, so I have a few customers. I do not have millions. I'm sitting here with my laptop at home. The system is sitting in Luxembourg, so I'm connected via internet to Luxembourg. So it's not on my laptop; it's not physically here, and that's the kind of performance you see.
Okay.
It's really quite amazing, yeah. To be honest.
Yeah. That was really interesting about the performance, indeed. Because if you have a tool and you're able to explore your data, then it's very important what you will see in how many times. Because if you say to someone, okay, I will present you all your persons, but if you wait 10 minutes for that, so you will say, that guy will say, okay, never mind, forget it.
Yeah, of course. Nobody will wait for that, So yeah, as I said, up to a quite large amounts of data, basically, it runs on quite reasonable, hardware. If we talk about some, I don't know, about some Chinese bank or whatever, then you need to put the hardware behind. But we are there basically to advise you what you need to put like hardware in order to what you want to get like expected performance. But we are absolutely not talking about minutes. That's not possible. Then you continue. You have different ways to see here. For example, the schema. So I like, for example, the horizontal or the vertical hierarchy, which gives you a good overview, basically on different tricks. You can zoom. Here you can isolate. You can do quite a lot of things with this, in fact. So I see here links between my alert, one customer, one person on the watch list, one person which is linked to Gaddafi, linked to Libya, etc. And I see an account here in France. So my customer here is sitting in Tripoli, Libya, but I see that he is related. So here, when you go here, you see the relation. He has an account in France. So, okay, why not investigating a bit more about the account in France? So what I see here, I will zoom a bit, is that the account in France basically receives money from two other accounts, one in France and one other in UAE. If I click here, I see the amounts. So these are actually aggregated amounts. So here I have 87,000 euros, and here I have even I have 50,000 euros. So I can see information available about the account itself. So whatever is available, so more information you are able to provide, of course, more information can be displayed. So we have some account information, you have history, you have profile, if any profile on the account, you have the account holder if it's available, you have different risks, if any, details, chart and clouds. We can do also if there is, say, some history. I can continue. See, for example, who is behind the account. So here I can see that there is a person behind the account in UAE from which quite some money. So here we are talking about almost 800,000 euros coming to the French account. So I see information about a person eventually which is behind the account. So it's some person called Ashor Kazali, which I can also investigate if I want. Something also quite interesting is I can, if I want to go more into analysis, because that's quite an advanced, in fact, data analytics tool. I have different selection. I can select, for example, all my objects. And here immediately on the right side, I have statistics about my objects. So I see that I have in all the objects here that I have selected. Let me perhaps reorganize them. Okay. I have 4 natural persons only. So if I click on 4 natural persons, so I have them isolated. So you see that they are highlighted. Everything else goes gray. I have only the persons. So the persons which are there. And I have all their information here behind. If I want to see the names, for example, I can, because I have a lot of information, I can do just a quick search here on the name, and I see their names. So I see that I have one Muammar, I have 2 times Ahmed, and I have once a person for which I do not have the name. For example, I can make a search on address, for example, to see whether they do not have the same address, for example. So here I see that there is 4 times, for example, the same address. If I want to look into identification documents, I click here. If I want just to see the accounts, you see only accounts are highlighted. So eventually I can isolate the accounts and work on accounts or their links, etc. So it's quite a powerful tool, in fact, for data analysis. You can save this. So let's say that you have investigated, you have all this chart here, you have you arranged it in a way that is the most easy to read for you. You can save it, of course, for further investigation or attach it to the alert or to the case, etc. So you can save in different formats, CSV even, like picture, CVG. Save as investigation basically allows you to save this part, attach it to the alert, and next time you can start from where you stopped. So you don't have to do this whole investigation again. You go to the alert, you have already saved what you did, and you start from there. You can continue the investigation. You have also different options. You can select, for example, entities here by scenario. Scenario means detection scenario that generated this. For example, we looked at different selections, etc. So basically, there are quite a lot of things that can be done. Let me go here. So if I go to one specific person and then I go into the details, so you see all the details which are related or which have been concluded or computed or just found by the system. So here you see, for example, that this person that I selected here, a bit, well, randomly, I mean, in my investigation, just to show you what's behind. So behind the Ahmed Abdul Salam, I have the risk, for example, found by the system. So the score is 100%. The risk is laced with world check, for example. So this person is on in the financial crime subcategory of world check. If any relations, not only persons, as I said, but if any related objects to this person, they are there. So there is home location, 2 home locations that have been related to this person. There is natural person, so our friend again, Muammar Gaddafi, which has a relation to our friend, and there is also an alert which is related to that person. If any comments, they will be here. If any profile, history, of course, details, keywords, if any, etc. So everything is here for you to see and to help for the investigation, basically. So basically, that's very quickly. If we go through an alert, that's how it works. So you see the list of alerts here. You pick up one to investigate. So typically, it can be by priority. You can sort here by different things also. You can sort by the name of the alert, by the real name, by the description of alert, a lot of things. If you have a lot of alerts and you want to sort, for example, you can also filter. It's a free search. So person or needs or whatever. Okay, assigned to. If you want to see just the alerts assigned to somebody, to me, or to a colleague of yours, etc., you can do the filtering here. So quite also flexible filtering. So we have different criteria. Okay, you have different ways also to see the alerts. So if you want less details, you can see them in this kind of grids. If you want a bit more details on the alert, so you see that's in this way of presentation, the way that I personally prefer. You can also configure a bit your screen here, the main screen. So how many records you see, what is the interval of, what is the refresh interval, because we are talking about real-time alerts here. So if you want to see everything very quickly, so you set up the interval for the refresh. Here it's 5 seconds, but it's you can change it, etc., etc. So you can configure your screen for alerts or for cases from here quite easily. And you can also, from this view, if I click on this button, it allows you basically when you go on an alert, when you click on alert, it gives you already some details immediately visible on your right side. So here already I see a bit more details about who is behind, so who is my customer, are there any other details available, so information, some basic information about the customer attachments, if any, to the alert, etc. So basically these are different ways to see the alerts and in order to give you more or less information to decide whether you go further into alert, how you investigate, etc. Details you saw, you double click, you saw the details of the alerts. So why the alert has been generated, any history, eventually related entities, comments if any. And then if you want to investigate, you go to the analysis. So we saw how it works from the alert. Click on the alert here or here, or whatever alert you choose. You go to analysis, you have a starting point, and then you make the analysis here. So from work perspective, so from how an investigation works, so basically that's what I wanted to show you quickly, so to see what is the whole workflow process, if you want, from an alert generation through how to see the alerts, how to decide which ones to investigate first, for example, and then how to investigate an alert. Then we have things more on the configuration side, if you want. So here we have the different rules which are behind the alerts generation. So that's the way, in fact, to create rules in iDetect. So it's again graphical interface. You can edit it. Well, not everybody, but I mean application managers or administrators who are allowed basically to have access to the rules. They are written in pseudo-natural language, as you can see here. So you basically, it says there is a person. This means that the rule will be applied on a person, not on the customer, but a related party. And then it says in a quite a understandable language, I mean, what the rule has to do, basically. These are a number of instructions that the system will perform behind in order to generate an alert or not. It's very flexible. Everything is configurable. The name of the alert, the description, the different algorithms used, the thresholds, for example, if you want to change something here, it's 80%. It can be changed quite easily. So virtually everything, in fact, is configurable in a P&L language. So that's on the rules. On the database side, we can have different organization units. So I assume you are familiar with the terminology, with the notion of organizational units. So this basically means that you have entities in different countries, or even within the same country, but in different businesses. They can be here configured like a separate org unit, which means that there will be a wall, if you want, a Chinese wall between their data, between their alerts, etc. So these will be seen like different entities, and the system can be configured, the same system can be configured differently for different entities. So if you have one entity in US, another in Mexico, for example, you can have rules which will apply both to Mexico and US, but you can also have rules specific to Mexico, specific risk evaluation matrix, for example, for Mexico, for your Mexican entity, and another one slightly different for US, and this basically within the same system. We don't have to have multiple instances or installations, etc. Same for the lists. So all the different lists, they are configured here. Well, they are loaded, configured, and loaded here. You have gray lists, PEP lists, watch lists. There are very few limitations, or virtually no limitations to the lists that you can use. Some of them are for free, as I said. Others are not, unfortunately, but that's how it is. Other data here, like country risk tables, for example. So here is where you define the different country risk for the countries where you operate or where your customers are. So different countries have different risks for different financial institutions. Even if you sit in the US, you might not attribute the same risk to Puerto Rico like a bank, for example, sitting next to you. So that's something, again, which is fully configurable to meet your requirements, and well, other things which are also configurable here in the system. Same story goes for the users, groups, roles. They are quite easy to configure. So you can select the role, click to modify, and then eventually change a bit what is possible, what is not possible. On the more technical side, so virtually all the automation, the mechanisms, they are also configured here via the graphical interface. So when lists are imported, when customers, for example, are imported, etc. So it's all configured here. Same goes for the workflows, which are configurable. Same goes for the web crawlers, for example, to which site or to which data source to get to go and collect data, when, etc. So all that's configuration here. But I do not want to spend all your time on configuration, because I don't think it's it's the most important at this stage. Any questions so far, or anything else that you want to see forward?
It's all straightforward. I like your user experience. It's very clear, and I like that analytics screens that shows the um, people, companies, like graphs.
Yes.
It looks
Yeah.
really, really
This
nice.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a board that you can customize according to your needs
Yeah. Yeah.
and add literally whatever you want. So that looks really, really nice.
It's really nice and it's very powerful. It's a bit different way of investigating compared to legacy systems. There are only two other systems, to be honest, in the world which propose this interface with the same technology behind. They are not in the compliance area; they are in the data analytics, and they propose this for a price that usually makes you fall out of your chair immediately.
I agree. It's really
Yeah.
impressive. It's really, really impressive.
So we wanted to build the same powerful functionality on the same technology to focus it on compliance in the investigation and to give it for a reasonable price so it can be used by virtually everybody else. So that was the logic behind it. A lot of effort. It's a big development here, but I think there is an added value for that. For you.
It's better than any sheet or table or anything else.
Yeah, sure. It's we like humans, with some exceptions. I'm not part of these exceptions. Some bright brains, which can read and understand tables like Excel and make links by themselves. With these few exceptions away, I think there is no other human being who can do what the technology, what the system does here.
I agree with you. I definitely agree.
So Valerie,
Yes.
do you hear me?
I can hear you very well now. Yes.
Okay, good. So what I'm interested in, I saw the rule definition part,
Yes.
and I so the sanction screening is also defined as a rule. So that's something that is rule, and that means that whenever there is let's say a new transaction in the system, all if there are 100 rules, all 100 rules will apply.
Yes.
And
could be more.
Yeah, okay, no, yeah, that was example. So, and on the alert dashboard, all that alerts hits will be presented, right?
They will be presented here, and the person which is connected will see only the alert that he or she can see.
By default, the rules are not assigned to anyone. So there is no, it's assigned to the connection is empty, right?
Yeah, sure. But when we start the project, so part of the analysis is to understand your work process. So what, for example, I've just taken randomly a simple example. So what kind of alerts should go to which person or to which team to investigate? Let's say that I'm taking again some example, which is maybe not meaningful for you. Let's say that alerts, sanction screening alerts coming from Mexican customers, they need to go to a specific investigator for investigation. That's something that we can do automatically with the rule. We can tell to the rule if there is an alert from Mexico or to Mexico for sanction screening, it goes to Valery, for example, to investigate, or to his team. And then I will see these kind of alerts. Does it make sense? Hello? Hello? Alexander, I think you're muted.
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah, okay, now I can hear you. So does it make sense, or were you looking for something else?
That makes sense till now, but now I have a question about the score calculation. How do you calculate the score? Because I only saw that you apply score definition to a country, which means you value the country risk and you set the country score. But if that's it's not the case. If I create a rule, let's say if on this account in the last 7 days there are 5 or more transactions, I will create that rule. So how I will
yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. I see. I
define
understand.
the score.
Yeah. In fact, I shown the country risk a bit randomly just to show you how configuration of your country risk, for example, can be done. But that's something super simple, right? So it's just one area which can be used in the risk evaluation. So country risk typically is used mostly for the KYC in order to conclude on the customer risk category together with many other criteria. So the ones that I have shown here. Let me make it bigger. Yes. So it's all these different criteria here are typically taken into account for the customer risk evaluation matrix. But what you are also referring, I believe, is to the profiling and to the customer behavior and transaction monitoring. And then, of course, so how it typically works is there are different profiles of the customer, which are calculated automatically by the system. So these are typically statistics about the customer behavior. Something, again, very simple is how many transactions have been done in the past week or month for what average amount, and eventually or from what kind of geography. And then you compare this very simple profile, and we have dozens or hundreds of these, which are calculated for every customer, either real time, either overnight. If there is a deviation from this, so a rule could say, okay, if I was used to make in the past, 6 months, 3 transactions per month for an average of, $1,000, let's say, and now within this week, I did 5 transactions for a total of $1 million. And to some different countries compared to the ones that I'm usually used to transact, then I will have an alert. So that's based on behavior. And the configuration here could be quite complex. So we have libraries of standard rules. So per business, so we have standard rules for MTOs, standard rules for private banks, for example, for retail banks. We have other rules for casinos or online gaming, etc. So we have standard rules. We start from there. When we start the analysis, the first thing that we do is we understand together with you, well, thanks to you, we understand your business and your organization. So your also typology of customers. We propose you a library of scenarios. Then we do gap analysis together in order to modify, fine-tune to you, etc., or even create completely new ones for you. And then this is your model. That's your detection model, which is really yours and tuned to your business, to your customer typology, to your operation, geographies, etc. So that's how it usually works.
The definition of those complex rules is done by us. We will be able to do that, or you will need to do that in the system.
Sorry, I didn't hear the beginning of your question.
Yeah, okay. So you said that that's a more complex rules with the library. that you were supposed to provide to us. So
Yes.
after you provide to us, and that is something that needs to be defined in the system through the application, or still you are the one that you will do this the system behind?
So what we do is, as I said, so we analyze together with you your exact needs, then we prepare or we define together the model that you have to implement, but that you need to be implemented. We implement all this for you. So it's a configuration again. So that's what you saw in the administration screen. We do not have to write code or change the system or write, as I said, Java or C++ or SQL or whatever. So it's defined in the PNL language. We do this for you. So as of day one, you have a fully working system as per your specifications. Then if later on you want to change something, change a rule, deactivate rule, delete rule, create a new rule, etc. So you can do it in virtually all of the cases by yourself, because we give trainings during the project if you are interested, of course, to go for, to be able to configure the system by yourself. Trainings are included, so certain people on your side are trained, and they can do system configuration. If you do not want to do this, well, basically you just come back to us and we do it for you.
That's quite funny. So two more questions, sorry, but I will be fast. So
not a problem for me.
Yeah, we are able to see the persons, the matches, the alerts in the system. But
Yes.
what happens if you want to see our person historical data in our system? How did you connect that, and is it possible to be seen here on this interface?
So when you say historical data, what do you think about? Is that transaction?
I mean, yes, transaction that this person made in our system.
Yeah. In fact, everything is stored within iDetect database, and it is available into the database, and it stays there. So here, what you saw here in the analysis basically looks into all the history which is available in iDetect.
So you want to say that if this person, Mohammed Gaddafi, has made like 100 transactions, those will be all listed here.
They all stay here for an amount of time. So our customers, they typically want to keep this from 7 to 10 years.
Okay, got it. So the second question, the last one, is these connections or relations that say the transactions and flows. So are we able to define our own relation in the system? So let's say I want to create a relation to the phone call. I mean, to a telephone number. So I'm able to.
So the system basically, when the data is already available in the system, so iDetect will look by itself to identify any possible link between all the available data. If the data is not available, for example, yet, I can click here, clicked just on Salam, I can do add, and I can add a object by myself. So it could be a phone, it could be an alert, it could be a file, an email, it could be a phone call if you want. So I can use here something, then add it effectively. So when I do add, it will be linked to this person and it will stay into the database. So if you want to put, I don't know, a note or some additional person which is not available into the system, but you have identified somehow that is linked to
information.
Then you click on him, you add it, you create, for example, a natural person here. You create it, name, surname, then you click add, and it will add it. It will be linked to Hamid, to Ahmed Abdul Salam, and it will stay available in iDetect. So there is a way to add data manually.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah. This is something that is done in real time and to be in real time detected in the system, right?
It's all real time. Yeah. So all these links, they are created as they click, as I click, or as the user clicks. Nothing is pre-processed, etc.
Yeah. At the same time, if my colleague in other office or in other city is connected to the system and he is doing his own analysis and he makes some search criteria, this new entry that I have done will be able to be shown, right? Also,
If this person or if this entity has an authorization to see all the, because you know that's absolutely possible, but there is this issue with data protection. So sometimes the regulator, for example, and now even more with GDPR, especially in Europe, so US are a bit less concerned yet, but a regulator could tell you that people sitting in Hong Kong, for example, investigator, cannot see a data sitting in US that you investigate. So if that's the case, then we put Chinese walls. If not, you can see all the data everywhere. And even better, because this example was very good. So let's say that two people, so two investigators, let's say one sitting in the US and the other one sitting, I don't know, I will take again Hong Kong. You investigate and you work on the same person, you investigate the same person. So we have a specific configuration to the system that can identify this and send you a message. So here is messages, for example, in the system, see notifications. It can tell you that somebody else is working on the same person. So eventually, you do not do the things twice. Or you connect to your colleague and you say, why are you investigating him? What's wrong with? Because I'm doing the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I don't remember that you provide us functionality for the GIS, for the geographical analysis. Is that something that you have here in place?
No, I didn't, because I don't have it in this demo here.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's quite a new one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But basically, what it does is what you see here, but it puts it on a map. So what you see behind green is a map, and if, for example, this person and this person, they are in Libya, so they will be regrouped on the map and they will appear in Libya. If this one in Switzerland, so the system will automatically put it in the map. Well, Libya is a bit down there and Switzerland is a bit up here. You will see them put on. And then you can make selections, for example. Select with the mouse and zoom into specific country to see, etc. So that's the geographical analysis.
Very good, Valery. So what's the technology behind? It's a relational database. Which coding platform do you use?
So I can send you some technical documents if you want, where you have all the description with all the technology and what also we support, like technology, for example, I don't know, OS, application servers, databases, etc. So all these things. So for your info, I can do that.
Yeah, that will be really great and appreciate, because we want to cover all the aspects of the new implementation, and it's quite common. Okay, I'm fine. I don't have any more questions. Sorry for asking a lot of questions.
You're free to ask the number of questions you want. I have time.
Yeah, it's okay. So I'm fine. Of course, maybe if there will be more questions after we finish this call, but we can feel free to send you email inquiry, and write those questions on paper, on the mail.
Yeah, sure. So if there are no, well, by the way, are there any other questions from other colleagues?
It's all good here.
Okay,
Daniel and
thanks.
Jason, they were Daniel and Jason. Usually they were very active and participate in this kind of meetings, but
I hope they can hear us still. I can see them.
yeah.
So I don't know if you guys hear me. So it was very helpful, very insightful, and looking forward to discuss internally next steps. And thank you very much, Andre and Alexander, for asking such relevant and good questions that we definitely need for software. For the software that we want to establish in the company. So this was very helpful. Thank you very much, everyone. And I'm so sorry that I joined late the conversation. We were in a meeting before, but it ended up good. So looking forward to having further discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. So I hope you got the minimum necessary insight in the system. So whatever, if any questions, just feel free to come back to me too. So what I would suggest is I send you some documentation, so I can, if you are interested, I can send you the presentation that I have used today and the technical documentation that Alexander asked for. So then, of course, I assume you'll need some time to go through it, and then we take it from there. So I don't know what your timelines and what your next steps are.
Well, your proposal is okay. Let's see those documentation. I mean the presentation and the technical information. And as Daniel mentioned, we will go internally with this. And it's we usually have those board meetings in Thursday, but also it might be a case that we have early next week. Mm-hmm. So I think that once we share all this information internally, and then we will have a more clear picture what we are going to do. But yes, I forgot to mention LexisNexis is the vendor that we currently use and we are supposed to integrate. So if you already have that kind of setup previously, that will be fine. Otherwise, I will suggest you to go and to explore about that. So we are using the world compliance data.
Yeah, no, we know it very well, so that's not.
Okay, good.
If you work with them, that's fine. Their data is not bad at all. They are a bit expensive, but as long as you are happy with, then that's fine. If not, as I said, we can propose eventually alternatives.
Yeah, makes sense, of course.
We have some good partnerships with data providers, and they typically give us good prices. So if we have to go there, we can eventually also discuss this. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So I would suggest to reconnect somewhere next week, before end of the week, or in any case, anytime you have a question or need something from me, just let me know.
Okay, sounds good. We will be in touch, and thank you very much for this comprehensive presentation, and look forward to hear you next week.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to talk to you all today. So good day or good weekend for Europe, and looking forward then to talk to you again.
Thank you, Valery.
Have a nice weekend.
Talk soon.
Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.